All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another Patreon video. I hope all of you are doing great. Let me move my face here, which I think it's a little bit better. So on this video, we're going to be taking a look, or I'm going to be breaking down some of these frames that I did as a personal exploration. And these were made in Octane, as you probably already know. And on that note, I do have to apologize because you are going to be seeing the watermark on the render view, and that's because my license for Octane ran out. And as you probably know, Redshift is my render of choice. I just jump back and forth sometimes between them just to try to stay up to date. But I can't really justify to pay for the license for another year. So we are going to be using the trial version of Octane. So hopefully it's not going to be too distracting. But anyways, these are the frames that I made as a personal project, just as an exercise for me in art direction, and obviously in using Octane just to try to stay, keep that muscle memory going. So two of my favorites are this one here and this one, and I thought that we could start on breaking those down. If you are interested in any of the other ones, please let me know, and maybe we can do a part two. I don't know. But I did want to talk briefly about this one here because obviously, let me move my face again. Uh, this is the one that I started with, and I started with this one because I wanted to get all of the materials working correctly. So this one is what they called a CMF um, frame, or it could be that. Usually I should say, usually the CMF frames have like a neutral background, but in this case, I just put it on a table and I use one of the Grayscale Gorilla materials. But this Marshall geometry, or the 3D geometry, is from a website. I can't remember the name right now, but anyways, one of those websites where you can find geometry, and it came with a few materials, but I remember that, for example, the leather here or the plastic wasn't working very well. So I used one of the GSG materials for that. I did use the brushed metal for this one, like or actually, I think this is all geometry, if I remember correctly. But this is the frame that I started with just to get all of the materials looking correct. You can see that there's a little bit of roughness or variation in the metallic of the Marshall logo here, and a little bit of, obviously, the grill is reflective, and you have the other materials. Nothing too impressive or challenging, but it's what I started with just to get myself excited with the project. And then I wanted to try a few different approaches. Hopefully this looks like it could be part of one single video, because obviously that's always the objective. And these two are the ones that I was most excited about. On this one, I was trying some volumetrics in Octane. Most people, or a lot of people, actually reacted pretty well to this one. And then on this one was a very happy accident with motion blur. So if you're interested in learning how I did that, let me know. Or maybe I'll just say it in this video. Maybe we can open that frame. Okay, but we're going to start with breaking down this one. I really love how this one turned out, and I took as a reference one of the, I think it was one of the NBA playoffs frames from 2024, and I wanted to do something like that. The idea behind this frame is that the gold around it would probably, it resembles like sound waves. So you can imagine like this is opening, like it's probably flat, and then camera pushes back and it opens, and it's like a shockwave kind of effect because it's a speaker. So that's the idea behind this frame. And let's jump into Cinema 4D to take a look at how I did that. Hopefully my face is not too much in the way. So this is not the one, it's this one here. And let's talk about the scene setup first. Let me make some space. Actually, let's hide that, and maybe hide this. Great. So as you can see, I am rendering all of those shapes with the hair in Octane. If I go to the connect object here, you can see that I have a tag where I am using the hair tab here to render all of these splines. And yes, these are splines. I can. It's been a while since I opened these files. I think I did this back in February, but so yeah, we're gonna be we're gonna be discovering together how it is that I made these frames. So let me disable everything here, and you can see that I am using a cloner with a bunch of rectangles. It looks like. Not sure why they went away. Where is it? Is it my filters? Well, anyways, let me hide the thing here. I'm just so curious. Why is that not showing? This is all good. Is it tiny? It should be showing everything. Let's see. All. That's very strange. But anyways, let's not waste any more time. So I am using a cloner, and I'm using a bunch of rectangles. Maybe if I turn this off, it'll show. Yeah. So it's a bunch of rectangles with some rounding, as you can see, rectangle splines, and the cloner is set to blend in a linear. Obviously, I'm not moving the cloner in any, any direction. Everything is being um, clone in inside the same cloner, but because I'm using a blend mode here, I can use all of these splines and actually move the splines to obviously control where those clones are going to be. Even if I move it in the y direction, you can see how that works. I think the only thing that we need to keep in mind is that all of these need to have the same amount of points. And if you look here under the number of points, I believe that they all have the same amount so that the blending can happen um, seamlessly. So I simply put a bunch of splines here to create kind of that shape that you see there. Some of these rectangles, obviously you can see the radius of this one on the rounding is very, very strong, so that it would taper more towards the end of the thing. So that was my obviously I didn't do this like step by step like that. This took a lot of like trial and error to figure out how to get to the point where you see in the frame. And actually, I have an idea. Why don't I um, put this frame here somewhere so that we have something to see? Let's see how that works. So yeah, you can see uh, I did some trial and error on that, and what ended up working, I think, is the displacer. Well, this one displacer here with a box. So you can see that the displacer is what is causing all of these shapes. And actually it went away. Let me pin it here. All of these shapes that you can see here on the frame, I am doing that by simply displacing the splines here. And if we go, you can see that there's a lot of height in the displacer. So it has a lot of power applied to it. And then under the shading, um, there's something going on. Hold on, somebody's like knocking on the door. Okay, sorry, that was actually my daughter knocking on the wall from the other room because she wanted some ice cream. Apologies for that. So where were we? I was showing you about the displacer. Let me put this here. So on the displacer, I have a cell noise, which is causing this displacement that's very mechanic, if you would. Let me get rid um of the lines there. Yeah, so it's really a cell noise set to world, and then with this global scale that I just adjusted until I saw something that looked cool. And actually, let me bring back um the speaker so that we can see it, maybe look through the camera. um, yeah, I remember this. I was actually also had a top-down camera because I was trying to get the two frames to show how this would look like from the top. The animation. Anyways, so we have that shader that's causing that, and as you can see in my frame here, there's a little bit of the like the clones have a little bit of like a steep curve to them. So right now here, with only the displacement, they are flat, of course, you can see here. And I believe that I'm achieving that with the step deformer, or the step effector, just to make them go up a little bit so that it would be more interesting with the camera, because some of these are closer to the camera, so you can see what the depth of field is doing here with that. Um, and the only thing that I'm missing here, I believe, is the box field, because I believe, so this is set to invert. Let me disable the step. So right now everything is being affected by that displacement, and I believe the box field is simply to keep the ones really close to the geometry or the speaker a little bit more flat, looks like. And if I enable my my step effector, which I believe is very simple, so the curve is default, and I'm only, yeah, offsetting the clones by 30 centimeters. That's all that that's doing. And yeah, that's what's causing that. I'm not sure if the, actually, now that I'm looking at this, what happens if I delete that? I don't think that makes too much of a difference. Maybe at some point I was playing with the box field to make the ones um, closer to the speaker be flat like that, but ended up not liking it. Let me move back so that we go back to how it was. Yeah, I think that's how that was. And if we look from our camera, yeah, I think that that's good. Okay, so that is how I am creating that cloner. Again, just a blend with a few splines, and then using a displacer. And of course, remember that the splines have a lot of numbers or points, so that the displacement happens very smoothly. And I believe that if I go back to the shading, I did adjusted the contrast by 81%, just so that we would get more, or I would get more, um, you know, hard angle corners. This displacer, I'm not sure what it's doing. Oh, okay. So it looks like I was applying a secondary displacement, because without that, you can see, actually, this would be a good thing to show in the render view. So let me get some space here, and I'm going to hide this now. Let's see how this looks, because I think with the materials and all of that, it will be easier to show. Yeah, you can see here. Oops. Oh man, did I screw it up? Let me lock. Okay, that's how I can move that. Sorry, it's been a while since I've used Octane. I just want to have both frames here so we can see what's going on. There we go. So you can see here how everything feels a little bit too flat in the way that these things are displaced, and all I did was add a secondary displacer here to just add a little bit more um, detail or interest to the way these things work. Imagine if this is animated, the secondary displacement could also be animated to like create more of a secondary animation on these shapes. So this displacement seems like it's yeah, all of it is default here. I am using both displacers in a planar direction with a plus Y, and then on the shading, it looks like I'm using a turbulence with a very large global scale. So you can see there what that is doing, and then just adding some contrast to get more out of that displacer. But that's really what's creating those shapes. And we can go into the lighting, which I think it's a little bit more interesting overall about this shot. So actually, let's take a look at the camera first. So I am using a 90 millimeter focal length, and if I activate my save frames here, you can see the framing for this shot. over here. And then other than that, nothing really more interesting about this. I am using bokeh on this camera, of course, and it looks like I'm using the universal camera with I think I did do, yeah, I am using a focus object. That's the way that I just like to control things. And here's a cool little trick. If you go and if I find my focus object, which is this cube here, we can use this tool called place to very quickly move the object around the focus object around the object that where we want to keep our focus. And it makes it very easy because I can simply click from here. This is like placing it in real time on the surface of the object. So I use that quite a lot. And obviously, if you do have an object, it's easier to animate the focus because you have a visual cue or a visual reference of where that focal point is. Okay, so let's break down the lighting. You can see that there's a lot of stuff going on here. Yeah, I do remember this one being a pain in the butt to to light, just because there's so much metal materials in here. But let's see what I did together. So I believe if I get out of this one, it'll stay, and it does. And I think on my layers, my lighting is hidden. Okay, and if we look here, I have a bunch of planes that are um, creating some dark reflections, because when we have metal or metallic objects, it is the contrast between light and dark that gives it that very interesting look. Obviously, because it's all reflections, right? So in photography, they call these flags, and they usually are just like big squares that are black fabric. So I always try to replicate that. Let me move this out of the way and let me show you. Yeah, I guess I can show you here. There we go. I guess I can show you the material for that. Black card, I called it here. So this one only has opacity on it, and yeah, it looks like just that, so that it is completely black and it's not reflecting or grabbing any light from anything. And yeah, so I have a few of those, as you can see there, and those are creating some of those dark spots. If I remove those, you can see that it still looks good, but it doesn't look as interesting, because with the flags we are creating a little bit more focus on our hero object, which is the speaker. So when I'm using flags, I simply just create the planes and just start to move the planes, and looking at my camera, of course, until I see something that it's a little bit more appealing. So those are those flags, and let's just turn off all of the lights and go one by one. Okay, so you can see here that, and I do this often too, just to keep everything organized. Some lights here are only affecting the speaker, and some lights are only affecting the rings. And you can see how I organize that here. Obviously, there's just two objects in this one, but there's been other scenes where it's many different types of objects. And yeah, I just recommend doing this so that it's easier for you or for anyone that picks up the file later. So we have, let's go to the speaker first. Right now, you can see that the speaker is only showing the emissive materials, the light, the LEDs, and we have a spotlight that is only affecting the top part of the speaker, as you can see there. And if I'm not mistaken, on this version of Octane, you can now use the include exclude here, or am I not using it at all? This is one of the things that I really love about Redshift, the light linking. Of course, as you probably already know, let me go to my settings. But I remember that it was somewhere here. Okay, I think it's this one. If you activate C4D light linking, then you can use the project, is it project or project um, tab here to actually include, exclude, just the same as you would do in Redshift or in Cinema 4D, and it will take it. I do believe that on this version, on when I was working on these frames, the light linking wasn't working as expected. So I don't know if I was. So this probably has a layer ID here, and then this one light pass ID. I'm trying to remember if I was using some light linking or not, because with Octane you can also do light linking based on like the object ID. So this one has like layer ID here of one. Mm, I can. I mean, I'm pretty sure that it is. Well, no, I can see the rings here. So this one is not using light linking. Okay, so it's simply a spotlight, and you can see on the settings here that I am using the barn doors a little bit here to set to 0.1, just so that it closes. Or is it doing anything? Man, this is what I this is what I hate about Octane. Not sure what this is doing, but anyways, okay. So it's a spotlight that's framing that part of the object, and then we have a bottom logo kick, and this one seems to be just a. Let me hide this from the view. This one seems to be just a an area light set to circular, yeah, to a disc shape, and this one is just giving me a little bit of reflection on the logo. And if I enable this other one, this one is the one that's creating most of the lighting on that logo. And you can see if I move closer here and I enable this here so that we can see it, you can see that I have a little bit of a gradient on that logo, and that helps to accentuate the, the curvature, or makes it feel more curvy, even though that it isn't, because it is mostly flat here in the geometry. And I am achieving that with an image, as you can see here, that is just a gradient from GSG, because all of their things rock, and it's simply a top to bottom um, gradient. And I believe that this one is rotated so that the um, the gradient goes from the bottom up. I think if I enable this visibility camera, it doesn't show. Do I need to run it again? This should be. Oh, it's because let's set this as the render view. Is it because it's so. No, it should be showing the thing. Come on, Octane. Light settings, double sided. Okay, I'm not gonna waste time on this. It's just Octane being Octane, I guess. Um, oh, I need to go here and don't check the camera updates so that the camera stays on there. Okay, so this light is what's creating the main reflection, and then the other light is just adding a little bit more of a fill to that side of the object. As you can see, all of this side on the grill, and then I have another sidekick that is on this end to accentuate some of that curvature from this angle that you can see here if you follow my mouse. So those are the lights that are basically lighting the hero object, and then let's take a look at the rings. So we have a bottom one that is down here, and for this I am going to enable where those rings are. Let me maybe hide all of these, and you can see that I am lighting that from below. And again, this is not something that I go straight into the file and I know that I need to light this from below. I started lighting this from many different directions until, I move the lights until I see something that is appealing and that is working with my composition. So in this instance, I am lighting this from below, and I believe I'm just using one of the softbox textures from GSG, and then this float texture that I'm decreasing or setting it to zero point 0.6. I believe the distribution or the float texture in the distribution basically works like the exposure in Redshift. So it's a combination of the power and the exposure, um, or the distribution in this case. But yeah, this one is set down here to start to create these reflections lighting from the bottom. And then we have another one here that is, I simply just duplicated that, made it a little bit bigger and moved it to the other side, as you can see. And then we have one more. This one is hitting it from another angle, and that's creating all of these nice reflections that you can see here. Yeah. And this is what's interesting about this one, because you wouldn't think that this uh, is being lit by so many lights from coming from below. Obviously, you would think that it's coming everything from the top, but in this instance, that's what works. And then we have one more octane light that is actually coming from the top to create that the overall lighting effect. But you can see that all of the main reflections, or the more interesting reflections, are coming from below, because if we just leave the top light, you can see, yes, we do get some diffuse and some reflections, but it's not as interesting as with all of this added up. And if we take a look at the final result, you can see that, yeah, we have some interesting reflections. And obviously right now, all of the flags are hidden. So with the flags, we're just creating some more interest in the contrast between light and dark, and obviously creating some more focus on that speaker. I do have a dome light here, but I believe this one is just it's actually, yeah, it's actually hidden from the camera. So not sure why that was left there, but it's not really doing anything. So that's the lighting. I think the key thing to take away from this one is that experiment with your lights and move them around. Obviously, not everything or all of the rules apply to every situation. In this situation, of course, the combination of the main top light creating those main reflections, and the bottom lighting creating some more interesting reflections along with the flags, it's I think what's creating this really nice look on the gold rings. And other than that, I believe I may have done a little bit of, no, post processing maybe. Yeah, so it looks like it's just a little bit of bloom, and with a cutoff. Let's see. I don't even know if this is doing anything, to be honest. Oh, I think I need to activate my camera updates for this. Yeah. Okay, so I am using the bloom, but as you can see, if we don't use the cutoff, it's just, way too soft. So I am using the cutoff. So I believe the cutoff is just a threshold. So it's making only the very intense or bright parts of the reflections have just a little bit of glow to them. And I believe that's it. Everything else looks like it's pretty default here. I don't think you can do like any curves adjustments here yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like it, like you can in Redshift. So I think that's good for this one. It's been half hour spent on this frame here. So let's go and take a look at the other one, which is this one here. And I feel like this one is, uh, well, first of all, I wanted to have some sort of texture to the background. And my idea behind this frame was like maybe this is like a big LED screen on, I don't know, something that you would see in like a concert or something like that. And obviously, the speaker is like silhouetted on the from the lighting from this screen, and it's on this structure here that is just making everything a little bit mysterious and stuff like that. So maybe this would be a good frame for like the intro of the video or something like that. But yeah, the main thing about this one, and the one thing that I worked on or that I experimented a lot, is the Marshall logo here on the background, just to try to get those really nice details that you can see here. If I zoom in, you can see, and this is probably telling you, what's creating this effect. But let's go in and take a look at the file. So I have it open here. Let me get some more room. There we go. And hide this so we can evaluate the file first. So this one is pretty simple. As you can see, we have the speaker and the structure that I built here. And for this one, I looked a lot at a lot of like scaffolding references and stuff like that. In the beginning, I believe that the base here I wanted to make like metallic or something, but whenever I started to light this thing, and obviously things evolve as you work on them, uh, I decided to go with glass just so that you could see, you could peek through a little bit. And the reason why the glass is a little bit rough is just to keep more focus on the speaker, because I did try the glass, like clear glass, so you could see the Marshall logo even better. But again, it's just about um, what's the word that I'm looking at? It's not about being like super blunt and on the nose about what this is about keeping it mysterious. And yes, you can make the Marshall logo in the background, and you can see that this is there's a speaker here. And yeah, it's just about keeping the viewer like interested in what's the frame. So yeah, I went with rough glass so you could kind of see through it but still keep the focus on it. And then I built this scaffolding thing. So let's take a look at that first. And this looks like, what is this? Oh yeah, you can see that I was trying to add something else here to this, but ended up just hiding it from the view and keeping the speaker by itself. So let's take a look at the structure. I believe I built this with symmetry so that I will have more control. And you can see that I only built one part of it with simple deformers and stuff like that. So if we go and disable here, we have the main tube here, which is this cylinder right here. And I'm using just a bend deformer to bend it 90 degrees in that direction. And then we have a then what is it? And it's called not here, but I think it has another thing. But yeah, like a little tightening thing for the tube, and then I'm just using an instance of that. So I'm trying to keep everything as parametric as possible because it helps me with iterating on this. And then I am simply using a symmetry here, and let's enable, let's see. So I'm not sure why, like it, where's this part coming from? Again, it's been a while since I've used this, so let's enable the symmetry and go here and show planes. Let's see. show planes. Oh, okay, because it's the new symmetry, and I'm doing like two clones of it because I'm cloning on two axes. Okay, so I'm cloning on that angle first, and then I'm cloning on this angle second, and then that's creating the whole structure, which it's pretty cool because I only had to build one corner of it. So let me go back and disable the planes. So that's how I built that. And obviously, in this frame, the angle of the camera plays a huge role on this, right? Because we're not really seeing much of anything else, and you can even see where that screen is placed, like so far away from the main hero light. So you can see that my camera is all the way back here, and I am using a super long lens for that, and that's what's creating this look here. So super long lens keeps everything very straight. And I'm gonna pause the video because my daughter is just here, so let's see what she wants. Sorry about that again. Yeah, she's a little bit bored, so I need to wrap this up because she wants to go to the playground. Okay, so we have these the camera super far away with a 200 millimeter lens, and that's because of based on that is where I am placing the screen back there. So let's take a look at the screen and how that is built. So we have the structure, obviously the main hero object, and the reason why I'm doing it with an instance, you can see that it is an instance here, is because I believe I started working on this frame before I had all of the materials and stuff like that in the final one. And this is something that I like to do whenever I'm working like that. And I know that there might be revisions to the materials or the geometry of something. It's just easier to place it in an instance object and then just keep that here. So if I do get, let's say that this were a commercial project and I do have an updated version of the geometry, it's easy for me to just bring that into the file, place it here under this master that is not seen by the camera or by the render, and just replace it in the instance. Obviously, it depends on the situation, because if you are animating the objects inside, I don't think you will be able to do that. But in this case, I am just using the whole thing as a static object in there. So yeah, just something that I recommend doing. And then we have the LED wall here, and I am creating this with a cloner that is humongous, as you can see, because it's just a ton of very little and thin cubes, as you can see here. And you probably already guessed it, the lighting is coming from the emission on the back. I believe this one, no, it is seen by camera because we are seeing it. So let's enable Octane and see how this looks. So the LEDs, or the cloner, is a bunch of rough glass cubes that are in the background, and you can see that the plane with the, is it working or not? Huh, it's still being seen. There we go. Okay, sometimes I guess, yeah, you need to kick it in the butt. Okay, so yeah, the LED emission. Let me disable camera and enable this. It's simply just a plane, default plane, and again, everything is happening um, on the material, not this. Where did it go? This one, yeah. So if I select that, we have LED. There we go. And let's take a look at that. So it looks like I was doing something here. Actually, I'm curious. Let's see, because it has some. Yeah, I was doing something with colors here. That's cool. So I believe the texture I was creating in After Effects, probably, just because I'm more comfortable with After Effects than Photoshop. But in the end, I wanted to keep this like red tone motif, so I kept the Marshall logo pretty simple. So as you can see, we start here on this image texture that is just a white and black image from the Marshall logo. I am adjusting the transformation, so just moving it in the plane, of course, some super simple, and then I'm driving that through a gradient. Let me move this up here so that we can see, through a black and white gradient that's going into composite layers. And in here, let me see, what was the way to, okay, D, solo node. So, okay, so texture, texture here, going into the gradient to control the contrast, and that is going into the opacity of a layer that also has a noise. You can see this noise. I have some colors, so yellow and purple, and then global scale, and then stretching it in the y-axis just to get this very long streaks. And this is because I was trying to get some, if I disable this, that would be easier to see. And on solo node, I think I need to resend it. Come on, Octane. Okay, Octane just being Octane. Okay, so without this, I believe the color is coming from, where is the color coming from? From here. So bear with me. If I plug this into here, or let's remove the opacity or the texture. Let's just put, or I know, let's move this one here so we can see. So you can see how the Marshall logo looks. Obviously, we are adding the red color, but it's being applied uniformly on the whole thing. And again, I was trying to recreate um, like LED lighting, and you can see that there's some. It's really subtle, but there's some spots where the lighting is just a little bit darker, and some spots where the lighting is a little bit brighter. And I am achieving that by this composite layer, which I believe is probably set to, where do we see that? Texture, source over color. So connect this here, and then didn't this have mix normal? Okay. So I'm basically combining this noise with this the coloring here on the logo, just to create that little bit of variation on the logo. And that's really much that. That's pretty much that. I have a really high power to the emission, and obviously without the LED wall, it just looks boring and like nothing is really happening. But as soon as I enable that, you can see how we are getting that. Again, it's a subtle effect, but I think it adds a lot to the um to the composition here. So let me move this back down. I think that's pretty much that on the materials. So let's hide this again, and let's take a quick look at the lighting. Again, very simple because everything is like silhouette lighting, so very moody stuff here. Yeah, this one is a lot simpler. Let's disable all of these lights. Obviously, the main light is coming from the LED wall emission, and then we have. Let's go over the lighting on the hero first. We have a spotlight again, just to create. You can see. Actually, let me disable the LED wall for this. You can see what this is doing is just creating just a little bit of faking the reflection from the LED wall, because obviously if I enable the LED wall again, you can see that not much light is coming into um, our subject here. So I am simply just cheating, or like getting some of that environment lighting and cheating so that we can see some of the objects. So we have a spotlight here, excuse me, with a red color and a very low power of 4. Then we have the front reflection that again it's using the same image with the gradient just on the logo so that we can get just a little bit of information on that logo there. Then we have the another light here that's lighting the structure just so that we get just a little bit of a bounce lighting here, and just start to lift that structure from the background. Obviously right now everything is black, but you'll see it later where I enable everything. And then just some lighting, like general lighting on the whole thing, on the whole structure and the subject coming from the back, just again to mimic what's happening with the environment and just to push everything so that we can see that there's something there. And then if I enable again the LED wall, obviously because we have glass on that structure, we can see through, and that's actually also filling the frame with information. And right now you can see that the LED wall, obviously the lighting is only coming from the logo, but you can see that I added 2 lights here just to add a little bit more like environment to it. You can see what that one is doing here. And actually let me bring the final. If I zoom in here, you can see that we get some information of that LED wall on there. This one is very simple. I think, yeah, I don't even have a texture or anything like that, just a um, very low power on that. And another one coming from below here, so that, yeah, we just get some information over here. And oh, I didn't show you um the materials for, where is it, there, the materials for the glass, which I believe is very simple. Let me try to grab it, this one. So round edges so that we get some lighting on the edges. And I believe this one also has a little bit of um, in the transmission dispersion, a little bit of dispersion, because I can see it here with the lighting on the bottom. You can see it there. And if I bring the final, you can see it here a little bit too. Obviously if you zoom in very far, you can't really tell, but here it's getting some information from that dispersion. There's a bunch of other materials here, but I think it's mostly for the, the speaker. And I'm trying to think if I did anything else with this one. I think that's pretty much that. There's linear field here that I'm not sure what it was doing, but yeah. Again, I went into this project with just the speaker and trying to get something that would connect all of these frames together, as if I was creating style frames for a project. But I believe that that's that. Let me move my head here. But yeah, I think yeah, this is about an hour video, so I think that's good for this one. These are my 2 favorite frames from this exploration. And yeah, let me know if you want to take a look at the other ones, but it's a little bit more of the same recipe, right? Just the lighting on the Marshall logo is the same for that, and then trying to get everything to look like it belongs to the same world. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it here because I need to go to the playground, as you already know, with my daughter. I hope this was useful. Please let me know any comments or questions, any feedback, obviously, in the comment section. And let me know if you want me to break down any of the other ones. Otherwise, we'll move on to something else in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and stay safe.